Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, please subscribe and like the video for more content like this. So if you want to become a web developer and you do not know where to start from, this particular video is for you, okay? Because we will be talking about everything you need to know in HTML. Okay, so if you are excited, let's get started. So guys, the first thing you need to do is come to code.visualstudio.com. Okay, so that's where we'll be downloading the code editor. There's something called code editor. That's what we'll be using to write our code. Okay, so you can come to the site code.visualstudio.com. There are different type of editors to write codes, but majorly I prefer Visual Studio Code, and most developers prefer Visual Studio Code. Okay, so you can download anyone for your, if you're using Windows, if you're using Mac or Linux. Okay, all right. Okay guys, after installing the Visual Studio Code, when you open it, you see something like this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is let's go to, you can go to any directory in your computer. Okay, I'll say document, then let's create a folder called HTML course. Okay, then come back to the Visual Studio Code. You can click on open folder. Okay, then go to that directory, HTML course. I think it is in the documents. Okay, this is it. Click on it. Okay, then it will open the folder. All right, so let's get started. What is HTML? HTML is a standard markup language for creating web pages, and the word HTML stands for hypertext markup language. Okay, so let's go to our browser, our Vscode, so I can show you what I mean. So the way we start with HTML is we first create a file. Let's create a file in our folder. Click here, right? Click on this plus sign, the first one. Then we say index.html. All right, and HTML5 always ends with .html. So this index, you can give it whatever name you want. Okay, but don't prefer index. All right, so the first thing we need to do while creating an HTML file is to tell the browser this is an HTML file. So the way we do it is by typing doc type. Okay, the next thing is we type HTML. Okay, then just like this, HTML, then we'll close it, the closing tag. I will explain this better later. All right, so this HTML is the root element of an HTML. This is just one of the things you need in creating an HTML file. So the next thing, inside of the HTML element, create an head tag. Okay, this head tag contains all our meta information about our HTML. Okay, like our title, our link. Okay, so now let's, inside the head, let's write title. Okay, then this title, specify a title for our HTML page. Okay, which is shown in the browser bar. So I will show you what the title is later when we open our browser, but just follow along for now. So you can say HTML website. Okay, Then below our heading, below our head, the next thing we need to do is body. Okay, then it will have a closing tag also. After creating the body tag, the body element, so the body is simply the container for all visible content in our HTML page. Content like headings, images, paragraphs, and etc. We write everything inside of the body. Okay, so basically this is everything we need to start our HTML code. Right, this is just an HTML template, but we don't need to cram all these things. Right, and actually there's a shortcut in Vscode for creating all this in order to save time. Okay, so let's delete everything. I'll show you the shortcut. All right, so what you need to do is hold shift, if you are using Windows, shift and 1. Okay, then it will show this Emmet abbreviation, then enter. Okay, see, it creates everything we'll be needing. This is basically the HTML template. Okay, but you can also do it another way. In case you are not using Windows, you can say HTML, right, column 5. That is this particular one, this second one. Click on it. See, it creates our doc file, our doc type, HTML tag, heading, all the meta information, the body and all. Okay, then you can edit the title here. That's just all you need to do. HTML website. Okay, so that is basically the template of our HTML. The thing we're talking about is HTML elements. All right, HTML elements are HTML element is defined by a start tag, okay, some content, and an end tag. Examples are h1, p tag, and p tags. So I will show you what I mean now in the browser, in our code. So inside of the body, I told you earlier on that the body is a container for all visible content, like the tags, the h1 tags and image tags. So those tags are what are called HTML elements. Okay, so like it says, each element is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. Okay, so let's see an h1 tag now. This is a start tag. All right, then let me cancel this. Some content, let's say hello, welcome. Then a closing tag. Right, so a closing tag is just the same as the start tag, but just has a slash at the front. Okay, so that's basically what an HTML element is. Okay, so let me show you what we have in the browser. The way we do it is come to the folder. All right, the folder we created here, click on it, then open this index.html file. Right, you can see hello, welcome. So another type of tag is p tag. This one is for paragraphs. We'll still go in depth with all these HTML elements. Okay, p tag, remember, the start tag with some content. Let's say this is my first code, and you guessed it, an ending tag. Okay, so let's go to our browser again, refresh this, you see. All right, so one thing you need to remember is when writing an HTML element, never skip an empty tag, and never skip the end tag. All right, so if I skip the end tag and save it, by the way, you can use Ctrl S to save. You have to save the file in order to see what you have in the browser. Okay, so let's go to the browser. If I refresh, I can still see it, but it is not the right way to write codes. Imagine if I say, let's say another p tag here. No, I refresh, it shows, but this is not the right way. You have to impute, right? You have to put the closing tag. So let's save that, and this is what we have. Refresh, this is what we have. Okay guys, the next thing we need to talk about is HTML attributes. Okay, HTML attributes provides additional information about the HTML elements. All HTML elements can have attributes. Attributes usually comes in name/value pair, like name equals to value. So let me show you what that means in the browser. Okay, so all HTML elements can have an attribute. There's an HTML element called a link, right? It's an a tag. So we say a, and always have an attribute called href. We'll still talk about this in depth later. Okay, which href is an attribute of a tag, which is called link tag. And there's also an image tag. It has an attribute of src, which is the source of the image. Okay, so all HTML tag have an attribute, and other attributes are alt attributes, width and height attributes. Okay, so we'll still talk about this in depth later. Okay, another important thing we need to talk about is HTML div tag. Okay, the div tag defines a division or a section in an HTML document. Div tag is used as a container for HTML elements, which is then styled with CSS and manipulated with JavaScript. Don't worry about this if you don't understand what CSS and JavaScript means. We'll talk about it in later videos. Okay, so any sort of content can be put inside of the div tag. Okay, so let me show you what a div tag is in our code. All right, so let's delete this. Okay, so like it says, a div tag is like a division of our content. Okay, so now let's create our elements, div elements. Remember, it has to have a closing tag. All right, the div element is like a section. Let's say we have an h1 tag. Okay, h1, let's see, first section, then it has paragraph. A p tag is what's called paragraph. Let's say this is the first section, right? So now we can create another p tag, another div tag below. Okay, that means this is another section. You understand? H1 tag, section, second section, then a p tag. Let's see, sorry, it should be small letter, p tag. Then make sure it has the closing tag. This is the second section. Okay, so now let's make sure it is saved. Ctrl S. Now let's go to our browser. All right, let's refresh this. Okay, you can see each the div is a section. Okay, you can see this is first section and this is second section. They are differentiated by the div tag. Okay, so the div tag is a very important HTML element. Right, so the next thing is HTML headings. The HTML headings are titles and subtitles that you want to display on a web page. Okay, we have used this, but I want to explain it in depth now. The HTML headings are defined with the HTML, the h1 tag to h6 tags. Okay, so I will show you what I mean in our code. Let's go back to our code. Okay, this is an HTML heading, the h1 tag, but there can be various HTML headings. So let's go below here. Let's create another div tag, okay, to demarcate the section. So the first heading, the largest heading is called h1 tag. Okay, heading 1. Then you will see the difference now between h1 and h2 tag. Remember, never forget the closing tag. h2 heading 2. Okay, so let's save that and come to the browser. Okay, you can see the difference. This one is larger and bolder than this. Okay, so you can use various headings. So you can use headings in various sizes from h1 to h3, h6. So let's do h3, heading 3, h4, heading 4. Sorry, this should be in lowercase. Then h5, heading 5. Then lastly h6, heading 6. Okay, so let's save and refresh. You can see it gets smaller and smaller. So each one is the biggest, then h2 the next, and so on. So the next thing is HTML paragraphs. A paragraph always starts on a new line and is usually a block of text. Right? The P element defines a paragraph. So let me show you what that means. Okay, this is a paragraph. We've used it before. Okay, but let me just show you. Right, a P. Let's see. This is a paragraph. All right, anytime you need to write a paragraph, if you put a paragraph on our website, use the P tag. Okay, you can see this is the paragraph, and the paragraph starts a new line. Let me copy this and paste it here. This is a second paragraph. Save and refresh. You see, it starts another line. This is a second paragraph. Okay, so there's something I need to show you. This title HTML website. All right, I said I was going to tell you how it is being used. Okay, so HTML website. If you come to the browser, you can see it up here. Sorry, you can see it up here, HTML website. Okay, so that's basically why our title is necessary. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so another thing about paragraph is you cannot change the display by adding extra spaces or lines in your HTML code. The browser will automatically remove any space and line. What I mean is, if I say this, let me create a space here. This is a paragraph. So I expect it to show like this in the browser, right? But when I refresh, it's basically the same thing. Okay, so no matter the space you put on your paragraph tag, it is still going to display the same way, right? So if I add double space here, it's still going to display the same way, just one space. Okay. All right. So the next thing we need to talk about is HTML horizontal rules. The HR element is used to separate content in the HTML page. Okay. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let's come below here. Let's say HR. All right. By the way, this HR does not have a closing tag. It is called self-closing tag. Okay. So any HTML element that does not have a closing tag is called self-closing tag. Okay. Since we are not adding any content, right? We are not adding any content inside of it, so there's no need to close it. Okay. There's no need to say slash HR like this. So anytime you're not adding any content in between an element, it is always a self-closing tag. So now let's see what this HR does in the browser. When I come here, when I refresh, then come down, you can see an horizontal rule. Okay, so it is used to separate content in an HTML page. All right. Another thing we need to talk about is HTML line break. Okay, just like the HR rule is also a self-closing tag. Okay, so use BR tag if you want to if you want a line break without starting a new paragraph. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Okay, I told you you can't add multiple space, right? And I can say this is a paragraph, then full stop, first paragraph. All right, I told you this space does not matter. Okay, so now if you want this particular first paragraph text to go to the next line without creating a paragraph tag. Okay, let me go back. You can say you can add BR self-closing tag. Remember, that is a break rule. A line break, I mean. So let's see what we have in the browser. Let's refresh. Okay, you can see it came to the next line. So we can achieve this without using a break rule in HTML. Okay. Next thing we are talking about is HTML text formatting. HTML contains several elements for defining text which with a special meaning. Okay, let's see what that means in the browser. So HTML has several elements like h1, p tags, and divs. We have gone over that. So there are some special elements with meanings in HTML. For example, b tag is a bold tag. Okay, let me say this is a bold element. Let's see what we have. Save and let's see what we have in the browser. Refresh. When you come down, you can see it is bold. Okay, let's see another type of special tag. Let's see em tag. This is an italics tag element. Okay, let's see what we have in the browser. Save and come to the browser. You can see italics. So now, for example, if I want this is an italics tag to show in the next line that is below, what am I going to do? I will say break tag. Remember lowercase break tag. Okay. Then when you refresh, you can see. So there are other special HTML elements like subscript, superscript, strong, and so on. But these are the two most common ones. Okay, guys, we'll talk about another important stuff in HTML, which is called HTML comments. All right, HTML comments are not displayed in the browser, but they can help in your HTML source code. It is used to add comments and hide content. Okay, I'll show you what it means. Let's go to our file, HTML file. So a comment is used to add comments and hide content. For example, this particular code, if I'm trying to remember what this is, or maybe I'm trying to put a comment to tell another person that is going to look at this code. If I assume we're working in the team and my team member need to know what this means, okay? For example, if it's a complex code, you can add a comment. Okay, and the way to write comments in HTML is we say less than exclamation mark, okay, column column. All right, you can see it shows the comment directly, but let's say column column, then space column column. Oh, I mean dash dash, sorry, not column, then greater than. Okay, so by the way, it can be a different color in your editor, so it does not really matter, but we can write comments now inside this space. Let's say this this let's see these are called special elements in HTML. So you can see the usefulness of comments in HTML. So but when I save this and come to the browser, I refresh, you can see we can't see that comment in our browser, so it is only useful in our code. Okay, it also allow us to write neat code and makes us remember things. So for example, if we also want to hide this particular content, we can use a comment. Okay, we don't want it to show we don't want to delete it, and we don't want it to display in the browser. Maybe we're hiding it for future purposes. Okay, so let's come here, do the same thing, less than exclamation mark dash dash. Okay, then come below, we close it, dash dash, and exclamation and greater than. So this is commented already. All right, so let's remove this. There's just an example. Okay, so there is a shortcut in HTML for creating a comment instead of doing all this. Okay, and the shortcut is, if you are using a window, you can say control and question mark. Okay, control plus question mark, it allows you to create a shortcut for it. Okay, so let's see, let's write it here, let's put the comment. Shortcuts for comments is control plus question mark key. Okay, Okay, the next thing we're talking about is HTML links. So HTML link can allow us jump to another document. All right, and this is the syntax for HTML link. A A tags is used for HTML link, and it takes an attribute of href. Then in between the tags, we put link text. I will explain that right now in the code. Okay, so let's add comment. Let's say HTML links. Okay, like I said, HTML link, the syntax is a tag, and always remember to close your tag. If there's a text in between the tags, you have to close it. Okay, and the most important attribute of an a tag is href, and href indicates the link destination. Okay, inside of the a tag we say href, all right, then equals to double quotes. Then let's give it a link to the Google website, https www.google.com. So let's write a link text. Let's say Google link. Okay, and the only part that will appear in the browser is just link text, and that will be the only thing visible to the user so they can click on it. All right, so let's see what we have in the browser. Let's refresh. Okay, Google link. Let's click it. You can see it takes us to the Google website, Google page. So let's go back. So another important thing we're going to talk about in HTML link is the target attribute. Okay, by default, the link page is displayed in the current browser window. To change this, you must specify another target for the link, and the most commonly used target value is the blank value. Okay, so let me explain what I mean by that. Okay, let's go to the browser first. All right, if you notice, when we click on the Google link, it takes us to the Google website, right? But it is still on our current browser, and until we go back, that's when we have to see our website. Okay, but in order to prevent that, and anytime we click on this Google link, we want it to open on another browser, we use the attribute target, and the value will be blank. Okay, see what I mean? We say target, okay, then blank. Okay, not just blank, underscore blank. Okay, so let's save that and see what we have. Let's refresh and click. You can see it opens in another browser. So this is very important thing to know in HTML link. Right, and also another thing is links can be wrapped in button, in pages. Okay, for example, let's say let's just copy this. Let's paste it here. Okay, so let's create a button, and the way we create a button is by using a button tag. Okay, let's say button. All right, let's create inside this link. So let's wrap the link with the button. Okay, put the closing tag here, copy it and paste it here. Okay, so let's see what we have. Refresh. Okay, you can see the button link. When we click on it, it does the same thing. All right, so a link can be wrapped in anything, even image. All right, guys, so the next thing we'll be talking about is HTML images. It is another important thing in HTML. So image tag is used to create images in HTML. The image tag has two required attributes. one, the source attribute. It specifies the path to the image, and the auth attribute is specify an alternative text to the image. Let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so let's create a comment HTML image. Okay, so let's create an image element. By the way, it is a closing tag since it is not having any content in between. Okay, so it has two attributes. The first one is the source attribute. The source attribute specify the part of the image. Okay, and the next one is the auth attribute. The auth attribute specify an alternative text for the image. Okay, so let's get an image from the browser. Okay, since we don't have any image here, let's go to the browser. Let's Google shirt image. You can click on this. Let's say right click and say copy image address. Okay, let's paste it in the source attribute. Right, then the auth attribute means in case this image does not exist, it will show the auth attribute. Okay, let's say shirt image. Okay, so I will show you what I mean now. All right, so let's go to the browser. Let's refresh. You can see the image appeared, but let's say for example let's say our image name, our image URL is not correct. Okay, let me delete this. Let's save, and okay, it's still showing. Let's say for example there is no source allocated. Okay, now I will come here and refresh. You can see it shows the shirt image, which is the auth attribute. Okay, so that is basically the use of the auth attribute. Let's return back to this. Okay, right. So the next thing we need to do is background image. Okay, in order to use background image, we use style attribute and the CSS background property. Okay, so let me show you what that means. By the way, we'll still explain this better later. So let's create a p tag. Okay, let's say hello, then let's say style. So style attribute is used to create background image. All right, so let's say background slash image, then URL. By the way, this is the way we do background image in CSS, though I will still explain what CSS means later on. Okay, let's look for another image. Let's say shoes image. Let's copy this, copy image address. Okay, let's come back to our code and let's put a column, a quote, then inside the quotes we'll paste that. So now let's come back here, let's refresh. You can see the background image shows and the text is on it. So let me let me not style it yet because I don't want to confuse you on the styling for now. Let me not style the height and width. Let me not do that. Just you can see the text there and the background image. So just note that one for now. We will still come back and explain what CSS means and how to style all this. Okay. Next thing we are going to talk about is another important subject in HTML, HTML lists. Okay, there are and two types of lists. The first one is an unordered list, and the second one is ordered list. An unordered list starts with the UL tag. Each list item starts with the li tag. And other list starts with OL tag, and each list item starts with the L tag. So let me explain what that means in the browser. Okay, let's come down here. Let's create some space. Let's create a comment. Let's say HTML lists. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is the ordered list. Okay, let's create another comment on ordered lists. Okay, so like I said, the unordered list uses the UL tag. Okay, so let's create a UL and close it. All right, and each list starts with li tag. So let's create a list of groceries. Let's say sugar, another li list. All right, let's say noodles. Let's create two more lists. Li, rice, another list, oil. Okay, so let's go to the browser and see what we have. Let's refresh. Then you can see it shows the list in bullet form. Okay, so by default it shows the list in bullet form. So the other list will show the list in numbers form. So let's see that. Let's create a comment for that lists. Okay, let's just copy this instead of writing it again. Okay, then the ordered list starts with OL tag. It uses OL tag. That's just the difference between ordered and unordered list. So it's pretty straightforward. Let's refresh. Come down. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. That's just the difference between ordered and unordered lists. Okay, guys, the next thing we'll be talking about is HTML tables. A table in HTML consists of table cells inside rows and column. Okay, so let's go directly to our code and I'll explain better what a table is. Okay, so as usual, let's create a comment and say table. Then where we create a table is the first thing we will say is a table element. All right, table. Remember, close it. That the next thing is a tr element. A tr element stands for table rows. Okay, so let's say tr. All right, you can let's add the comment here. See, tr stands for table rows. Okay, so inside tr we can add th, which is table header. Okay, let's say header 1. Okay, let's add two more headers. Th header 2, header 3. Okay, let's add it here. Th is table header. Okay, all right. So the next thing is td. All right. So inside of our table row, we can add td, which is the table data. So we'll create another table row. Okay. Then inside of it, td. Right. You can say email. But let's just say data one. Let's copy it and paste it 2 times. 1, 2. Let's say data 2 and data 3. Okay. So let me comment td equals to table data. Okay. All right. So let's see what we have. And you refresh and come down. All right. You can see it forms a table. Though there is no border yet, I'll show you how we add a table border. Okay, so you can properly form a table. All right, so the next thing we'll talk about is HTML styles, which is CSS. All right, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Cascading Style Sheets is used to format the layout of a web page. Okay, so let's go to the code and show you what I mean by that. Okay, so guys, with CSS you can control the color, the font, and the size of the text, and so much more. All right, and using CSS, it can be added in 3 ways. Okay, the first one is inline CSS. So let me show you what inline CSS means. So now, for example, let's style this table with using inline CSS. Okay, so inline CSS is used by adding style attributes inside of the HTML elements. Okay, let's say style attributes. Then let's say border 1 pixels solid black. Okay, this is the way to add border to a table or border to anything. You have to say 1 pixel solid black. Guys, don't worry, we'll talk about CSS in depth because this is not the best way to use CSS. So there will be another course for CSS, but this is just a brief introduction about it. Okay, so let's see what we have in the table. Okay, you can see there's a border in the table. So we just style the table using inline CSS. Remember inline CSS is using a style attribute inside of the table, inside of the elements. Okay, so this is a style attribute and we write the style we want. Okay, so another way of writing CSS is internal CSS. Okay, this way we use a style element in the head section. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. This is the head section, like I said the other time. So we can say style element, remember to close it, then we can start writing our CSS here. Okay, so for example, I want to style all the p tag. Okay, I can come here, I'll say p, then curly braces. All right, this is the way we will style it. I will say background color, let's say red. Okay, so let's see what we have. When I refresh it, you can see all the p tag has the background color of red. All right, so that is an internal CSS. It's different from inline. The internal CSS writes it inside of the head. Okay, and this is where we write it. This is the syntax. We write the elements. Okay, then we call it bracelet, then we write our style in it. All right, so these are the 2 major ways of writing CSS inside of HTML. But the best way and the most used way is the external styling, which is the third one. So the external styling is by using a link element to link to an external file, an external CSS file. Okay, so this by this we create another file in our folder. We say html.css, or we say index.css, okay, or styles.css, whatever you want. So we link the style, we write our styles in that particular file, okay, then we link the file in our head by using link. Okay, so guys, don't worry about that if you don't understand now. That's complex for now. Let's worry about HTML. When we get to CSS, we'll treat that properly, because that's a course on its own. Okay, so if you don't understand this part, don't worry, there'll be a CSS course and you understand perfectly. So guys, next thing we'll be talking about is HTML class attributes. The HTML class attribute is used to specify a class for an HTML element. Multiple HTML elements can share the same class. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay guys, so let's say we want to style this particular h1 element, this first one, and we do not want the style to affect the others. We can give it a class name. Okay, so we use class name usually if we want to style an element. So let's say class, and what we'll do is class, then we'll say, let's say heading. Okay, so now to access this particular h1 in the style, we can say, we can come up here, say dot heading. Okay, that is the way to access the style. That's the way to access the class, I mean. So you can say color white. Okay, so let's see what we have. Now we'll refresh. Okay, no, let me change the color. Let's say color blue. Okay, I refresh. You can see. So that is the power of style, of class, right? It affected only the h1 that we gave a class name to. So we can, example, you want this particular h1 to also be blue. So each different element can have the same class name, the same class. Okay, so I can copy this and paste it here. So this is very possible. Okay, you can see it worked. And that thing is, each element can have more than one class name. Okay, you can have more than one class. I don't know why I keep calling it class name. So let's say, let's give this one another class. Let's say big heading. Okay, so now let's style it. We can come up here, dot big heading. Okay, curly bracelet. Then let's say background color of black. Okay, let's refresh. So you can see it has background color of black. So each element can have different class names. Okay, and each element can have multiple class names. The next thing we'll talk about is HTML attributes. HTML ID attribute. HTML ID attribute is used to specify a unique ID for an HTML element. Okay, so just like class name, we can use ID, but the difference is you cannot have more than one ID. Right? No, you cannot have more than one element with the same ID in an HTML document. So let me show you what I mean by that. I can come here and give this, okay, let me give this div an ID. Let's say ID equals to, let's say, first section. Okay, So we can't give this particular ID to another div. Okay, it does not work like that. It is different from class name. Okay, each particular element must have a unique ID. So that is the usefulness of ID. When you want one particular element to have a unique ID. So the way we use ID, we access ID in the style is hash. Okay, use the hash symbol. Okay, so the way we use the ID in an HTML style is we say hash. So instead of dots this time around, we say symbol hash, then the name of the ID, first section. Okay, so you can say background. Let's give it background color of, let's say, yellow. Let's say height of 30 pixels, or let's say 50 pixels. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, you can see. So remember, you cannot have more than one element with the same ID. Each element must have a unique ID. So it is different. Whereas class, you can have multiple HTML elements that can share the same class. Okay. Next thing we'll be talking about is HTML forms. Alright, HTML form is a very important topic in HTML. Right. So the HTML form element is used to create an HTML form for user input. The HTML form element is a container for different type of input elements such as text field, checkboxes, radio buttons, submit, and so let's go to our code and create an HTML form. Just come down right here. Alright guys, so let's create comment HTML forms. Okay, so the first thing when creating an HTML form is use the form elements. Okay, make sure it is closed. Then this form element is used to create an HTML form for user input. Alright, so as you all know, all forms must have an input box where user types an information or whatever. So in order to do that, we have to use an input element. So an input element is the most common used form element. Okay, and it is used to display, and it can be used and displayed in many ways. Okay, so let me show you the first way. Let's say input, and also input is a self-closing tag. Okay, let's see what we have in the browser. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, you can see. So let's come here. Let's see h1 HTML forms. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, so you can see it better now. Okay, so input element always collect an attribute of type in order to say the type of input it is, to specify the type of input it is. Okay, this one is a text input. That means the input whereby we can accept text and numbers. Okay, so there are other types of inputs. Let's say inputs is type of radio. All right, I'll show you what radio means now. Okay, so there is an error here, should be video. Okay, let's go back to the browser and refresh. Okay, so this is video. It's also an input, right? So another type is checkbox. Okay, let me just copy this and paste. Let's change this to checkbox. Checkbox. Okay, so let's come. You can see checkbox. This is a video, this is a text. Right, so there are other types of input: button, submit. So another thing we need to talk about in form element is label. Okay, label element defines a label for many form elements. Okay, label element is useful for screen readers users. Okay, let me show you what it means. So for example, let me add break here, so we can bring this to a new line. So for example, let's say label element. Okay, so inside of the label, let's say name. Let's refresh. Okay, you can see, so label is useful for screen readers. Okay, so imagine there's no label here, it's just an input form. The user will not know the information the form is requesting. So label is very useful for screen readers. Okay, so label take a for attribute, and a for attribute in the label should be equal to the id attribute of the input element to bind them together. Okay, let me show you what I mean by that. Let's come to the radio button. Let's say label check radio button. Okay, let's see something like that. Then, like I said, a label element collects a for attribute. Okay, so let's say for, let's say you can call it whatever thing you want. Let's say for label, no, let me not say label, let's give another thing for check. Okay, so now right now we will now put the id of the input. All right, an input collects an id. Let's put the id to be equal to check. So you see how it works right now. Let's come here, let's refresh. So right now, if I click on this check video button, okay, it's check the video. You can see I clicked here, but it's check the video. You understand? But if there's no, if I remove this id, okay, but let's say this id is not equal, let's put check 2. All right, let's refresh. If I click on here, you see they are not together, they are not bind together. So the for and id bind the input and label together. You can see you can only check when I click on here, but if I remove this and make sure the id and for is equal, when I come back, refresh, you can see when I click here, it works. So it's very useful while creating your HTML form. Okay, guys, the next and last thing we'll be talking about is HTML select tag. Okay, the select element is used to create a drop down list. The option tag inside of the select element defines the available option in the drop down list. Okay, let me show what I mean by that. Okay, let's create our comments as usual. HTML select. Okay, so the way we use select is we say you use select element, we say select. Okay, then this select element is used to create a drop down list, like I said, and this select element takes a name attribute. Okay, name, let's say um movies. Okay, then inside of the select it takes another tag called option tag. All right, option. So this option tag is inside the select element and it defines the available options in a drop down list. So it is very easy, right? We can say movie one, then it takes a value attribute, value, let's say movie one. All right, so let's copy this and paste it maybe 3 more times. I say movie two, movie three, movie four. Same thing here. 3, 2. Okay. So let's see what we have in the browser. Refresh. Okay. You can see. Let me make it clearer. Let's create a div. Let's divide the section. Okay. So make sure you close the div below. Alright. So let's say each one select movie. Okay. So let's come here, refresh. Alright, so you can see select movie. Alright, so it creates a drop down option. Alright. Okay guys, so that's basically all you need to know now about HTML. So I will advise you to go through everything again and try to know how to use each HTML attribute. Okay. Also, you don't really have to know all what we have done. You don't really have to know it. Us web developer, we use Google a lot. So if you forget something, make sure you go to Google and you will surely find the answer for the solution. And the next thing we'll be learning is CSS, which is styling of our HTML documents, and that will be the next video, okay, which will be dropped this week. So then we'll build a project on both HTML and CSS so you can master your new skills. Okay, so guys, I hope this video was impactful. If you have any question, you can put it in the comment section. I will surely answer everything, and please subscribe if you like the video.